Hello there and welcome to Zero XP, a podcast about celebrating fandom, one game, or one game series at a time. I'm John, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, who I'm pretty sure a few minutes ago peed his pants a little, Patrick.
Hello.
We strive to bring you a show bi-monthly with a few bonus episodes here and there in between. Our usual run of things is covering, currently, the Fable series, which is very near and dear to our hearts. You can find us on YouTube by searching Zero XP Podcast, or you can find us on most major podcast services. If we're not on one that you listen to, let us know and we'll try to get there. So thank you for joining us today. We are covering the Xbox Game Showcase. This is one of our bonus episodes, and we had a prediction podcast earlier this week, and we're going to follow up to some of the things that we kind of collectively thought together and disagreed on. So let's just get started. So based off the stats that were given, there were 22 console launch exclusives, 5 new Xbox exclusives from their own game studios, and all of the games we saw today are going to be on Game Pass. But before the show even started, we got a quick compilation of the ID at Xbox games. There were 15 independent that are coming first to Xbox. Patrick, did any of them stand out to you?
Well, I mean, we got another look at Fable, which I've been interested in since last year. The art style is really good. I like that it drops you in, it seems, and you just explore the world and look around, and it just looks like fun, a little Journey-esque, maybe without any co-op elements.
Cool. I really liked the look of 12 Minutes. We saw that last year, so it's not like it was anything new, but it's the Deathloop game where I don't know if you're murdered and your wife is murdered, but I believe at least your wife is murdered, and every time it ends, you start back over at the beginning of your day, and you're trying to set into sequence certain events that keep that from happening.
Memento, but with a little twist.
Yeah, kind of. What else did you have?
I was interested in the Big Con. I'm not sure if it's a game that I'm fully interested in, but it definitely, I want to see more.
I had never even heard of this until today.
Neither did I. It's basically your family's running a video store, and it's 90s based, which sounds kind of cool.
Yep.
And they're in debt, and you try to get some money so that way the video store shuts down, even though I feel like even if you save the store, you're still screwed in the long run because it's a video store.
Yeah, you kind of know where that goes.
Yeah.
That's a little grim.
Yeah.
You probably just changed the outlook for a lot of people on that game.
The developer's like, oh no, canceled, if they're listening.
Maybe we find out later they turn into a data streaming service.
Yeah.
Yep. There we go.
There we go.
See? I also thought Shredded looked kind of neat just because I've been missing snowboarding games. Not that I'm an avid snowboarder, but I like the games. And it's been quite a while since we've had SSX or even if you want to go further back, Snowboard Kids. So I'm hoping we had Steep from Ubisoft, but this one seems a little bit smaller.
A little more arcadey too.
I hope so. And then lastly, there was Tunic, which is basically
Zelda with a fox.
Yep, Zelda Fox. I mean, it looks cute.
I like Zelda. I like foxes.
It's a win-win.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was pretty much it for the indie show. And I like little compilations like that. I kind of expected it to be part of the main presentation, but it wasn't. But that's okay, as long as we got one. Kind of gave us a little glimpse of what's to come.
I mean, I was a little disappointed because it seems like every year there's, like there was Fable last year, every year there's a game that just, it shows up for a few seconds and you're like, holy cow, rewind, I gotta find that, like Cuphead years before.
Oh, yeah.
Cuphead was some of these might turn out great, but I didn't find that one, holy crap, that's a video game kind of moment.
I kind of felt that to a certain extent about the conference, but we'll get into that. So actually, I can't believe that we are 4 minutes and 30 seconds into this podcast and I haven't said Fable. We finally got the official announcement, the worst kept secret, but the most hyped moment for myself anyways. We're getting Fable.
Yeah, you should know we're a fan of that by now.
I would hope so if you're listening to this. But we are going to save the speculation and slight analyzation on that teeny tiny teaser we got for the end of the show.
We looked it over.
Yep. So yeah, let's just start with the opening. Opening was not surprising to me, where they just opened with Halo.
Yep.
We got a good 12 minutes of it. I mean, what were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it looked faster to me. I didn't have a side-by-side comparison, but it seemed a little bit faster, the gameplay, and it ran pretty smooth.
Oh, yeah.
But,
I'm sure
I mean,
it was running at least 60 frames per second.
Going around shooting, it seemed like your movement was faster than previous games. The grappling hook was cool.
It'll be neat to see how they implement that mechanic. Like, it can't just be something that you decide to do on the fly. I'm hoping that it comes into gameplay.
Yeah. Well, there's been rumors that it's a drop that you can use, but I don't know. It looks like to me it's attached to his full-time armor, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Graphically, I was not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And that was a little disappointing.
It looked good and it looked pretty.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, it looked crisp, and that was fine, but it just looked like Halo.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was some kind of nice-looking particle effects.
One of the developers, I don't know off the top of my head, but hyped the engine, and I mean, the game looked like Halo to me. Not that it's not going to be great, but I guess with so much hype, the development, the room, or what they say they spin on it, I guess I thought that I was going to see something that was, yes, Halo, but wow, you know, they really advanced with this.
Well, and I think that was the thing that a lot of people were expecting, not just ourselves, but like this is a next generation Halo. Not that it was going to be different from everything that came before it, but something that would notably plant a flag in the ground and say, this is Halo going forward. And I think kind of my reason for being underwhelmed was it looked like it was like, oh, yeah, well, this is more Halo.
Yeah.
I mean, cool. It's open world. I'll play it. It's going to be on Game Pass.
And we might see more later. We only saw one environment, and there's no multiplayer, obviously, that we saw. So we might see more in the future. But as it stood right there, I didn't really notice anything game-changing for that franchise.
Yeah, and that's not to be overly negative. It was just that it didn't look all that new.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're alone in that. If you're a fan of Fable, I really do hope that it pushed all the right buttons for you. Next we saw a teaser, a very short teaser for State of Decay 3.
It looked like it had seasons, it had tracking, and it had crossbows.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Zombie deer.
I mean, it's one of those things where I'm glad to see they're doing a third one, because the first one had a lot of potential, and then the second one had some issues as well. But this time around, the team is supposed to be a lot bigger. It's actually owned by Microsoft, so hopefully they have more funding on top of extra development or extra developers. I mean, hopefully it turns out great.
Yeah, I think my only hesitation, and I mean, I think we'll kind of get it and see it as we run down this list, was I don't want to say I was disappointed with the show, but there was still a lot of that, hey, you've seen this before, here's kind of another one.
Yeah.
And I was really hoping that Microsoft would pull something out that would make my jaw drop, or like a new IP that I just wasn't expecting that really blew me away or had my interest. But speaking of, next we got a teaser for Turn 10's Forza Motorsport. It looked pretty, looked really pretty. They say that everything that was in that teaser was made in-game engine, which, I mean, those games have always been pretty. I mean, the company behind them is, with Turn 10, is just phenomenal with what they can do with graphics. But it's Forza Motorsport, so it's either one of those things that I mean, at least with most people, they genuinely love, or they can just pass on.
I was a bit surprised we didn't get a release date, which makes me think that it's not coming this year.
Well, we speculated a little bit on that with our last show, and I kind of thought that maybe it could be like a spring game, something like that, something where it's not quite in the bubble where it normally releases.
With all these new studios, it makes sense that they don't feel like they need to make it a holiday release anymore.
Yeah, and
especially with Game Pass.
I was going to say, if they can find a good cadence to just drop games on Game Pass that always has people interested, I mean, that service is only going to get better and better.
I mean, it's one of those games. I'm sure the people that are fans will love it. It looked good. Not the biggest racing fan, but when I am, I'm more of a Horizon series guy.
I'm more of a kart guy.
Yeah,
well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
After that, we got Rare, and I was a little stumped because I thought maybe they would have a smaller project to announce on top of what we already knew about.
Yeah.
But we did get an extended trailer. I don't know if you'd call it gameplay or not necessarily, but Everwild, they showed off.
Well, considering... Well, okay. If you listen to the last episode, I said it was beautiful and I had no clue what that game was.
Yeah.
After watching that, the game is beautiful and I have no clue what it is. I don't even know if that was gameplay. I mean, it's very hard to figure out what that game is and what it's trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, like, I love the look of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty stunning in that aspect. It's got those Breath of the Wild elements, but I love the animal design, for one thing. Looks wonderful. The graphics,
Well, it definitely reminded me of Avatar: The Last Airbender when you're in the spirit world.
Oh, that's funny. I actually have that written down here. I made a note of that.
I beat you to it.
Yeah, you did, and that's appealing to me.
Yeah. I mean, it looks great. I'm very interested, but I guess after seeing the trailer last year, I was hoping we would get a better idea, and so that was a bit of a letdown. Not that it won't be great, but I was hoping we would get a good idea of what that game is.
Kind of find out what the basis of the game is going to be. Yeah, because I didn't get that out of it, but I'm hopeful for that one. So after that, we saw Don't Nod, their new game, which is Tell Me Why, which I think that was also previously announced. Is that right? Okay.
Yes. I don't remember when it was, but I know I've seen it before.
So it's a mystery game. It's coming August 27th. Well, at least the first episode is. It's going to be an episodic game. Patrick, you've played quite a few of their games, haven't you?
I played the first season of Life is Strange. I haven't gotten the second one, I have it. They're both on Game Pass. I just haven't gotten around to it, but it was good.
I think I started it, and then something came along, and I got sidetracked and never got to actually get back into it. I might give that another look.
It looks interesting. I don't really know what's going on with the story, and that might not be a bad thing, because since those games are so story-heavy, you don't really want to know many details. That comes out, I don't remember if you mentioned August 27th?
Yes, yeah, I did.
Okay, the first episode. I think it being episodic, that's a good thing for Game Pass, and people really like their game, so I think it was a good get.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, though, it falls into that category a little bit of looking, like current gen game, because it is a current gen game, but I was really hoping that they would show, because especially in these smaller games, you would think they'd be able to do a little bit more visually. I could just be...
I don't know the size of their team or anything.
That's true. I don't know that either, so I may be speaking out of turn there. Speaking of small teams, next was Moon Studios, who did, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Ori and the Blind Forest. They basically just reaffirmed that we're getting I don't know if you'd call it a patch or an upgrade or an update to Ori and the Will of the Wisp, but it's going to be 120 frames per second, which is pretty amazing. And they're boosting the audio, and that's going to be out this year. I have not given a gameplay run-through for Will of the Wisps yet. Have you?
No, I haven't, and now I don't see any need to, at least until we can get into the upgrade.
Yeah, I think I'm going to wait, too. You might as well take advantage of what's being given. Yeah. It's already a beautiful game. I've watched a few videos on it, not enough to spoil the game for me, but just to kind of get a feel for what they're doing. And it is phenomenal, really, as far as platformers or 2D, I guess, Metroidvanias go. It really is. It's a beautiful game. Yeah. So it'll be neat to see it in a higher resolution and moving with more fluidity.
Yep.
So next up, after that, we got Obsidian. And Patrick, on our last show, you called it. You said that they were probably going to have a big day. And in my opinion, anyways, I felt like out of what we were shown, they probably had the biggest day.
Yeah, I wasn't fully committed to the new game that they announced, but I kind of thought it. But I thought they were going to have a big day, and they definitely had a big day. First, they announced 2 DLC packs for Outer Worlds. They had... Really, I noticed immediately they had pretty cool monsters. They announced Peril on Gargon. Was that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Gargon.
Yep.
And they didn't announce the other ones. What I'm interested is they said... They said everything that they're showing today was on Game Pass, and I'm wondering if that included the DLCs for these games.
That's a good question. And I guess I should note that it said that the Peril of Gorgon is coming out September 9th.
Yep.
And it's one of 2 DLCs they have planned.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they showed Grounded, and I'm a bit more excited after what I saw.
Yeah, Grounded is one that I've seen a little bit of. I think I downloaded like the trial or the early access to it, but I never actually played it.
Yeah,
and
it was specifically single player.
Yeah, after seeing this, I'm really intrigued by it. I mean, it's not going to blow the roof off as far as looks, but the trailer alone, the humor behind it, just really had me going.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the game.
Yeah.
Basically.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that was, I think, everybody's first instinct. At least if you were born in the 80s or 90s, that's the first thing you see.
I enjoyed the Battletoads reference with the figure in the ground.
That was good, and they kind of won me over starting with the, if you've been waiting for the biggest game of 2020, then wait for Cyberpunk 2077. And I was like, okay, all right, I love things with humor.
Yeah, they made fun of themselves more than once, but I liked what I saw. It looks like a good, fun game with friends, for sure.
Yeah, I'm anxious to check out the co-op on that. I mean, that's going to be the draw for me is co-op. It looked like there was some base building and things that might be neat, might be fun.
And the last thing they showed was Avowed. We only really got a CGI trailer, but I'm hoping since it's early in, this is a big AAA from them. I think it will be. But you got medieval, you got magic, you got fantasy. It's Obsidian. Yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah, I will say that I think that out of the things I didn't know or expect to be coming, this was probably my favorite thing that was brought forward. I mean, it checks all the right boxes for me. The epic voiceover, kind of the art look of it. I mean, it's kind of funny because, you know, with Outer Worlds, we have for lack of better terms, I mean, it's kind of like Fallout clone in a lot of ways.
Hell,
I mean,
they had a lot of people that
spin,
worked on Fallout games,
and that makes sense. Now, this kind of looks a little bit like it could wind up being like a Skyrim-esque type game, which, I mean, I'm totally down with. I think I'm a little surprised that we haven't seen more companies take this approach in trying to make those games. And with Obsidian, it's, you know, they've got a pedigree that, I mean, go for it.
Yeah,
let's
especially when they
out.
have the budget. A lot of times in the past, they just haven't had the budget to do what it looks like this game is going to try and be. But, I mean, as far as acquisitions go, this is looking like a home run.
Well, and I think the thing about it for me is, as I said earlier, I wanted things to be announced that I did not know were coming, that would be new, that would give us a new outlook for Xbox. And this was the first one that I was like, okay, cool. This is something we haven't seen from them. After that, we had Interior Night, who seems to be a very small studio, but they're making a very pretty game in As Dusk Falls. It's, I think, kind of in the vein of what you would call a Dontnod game or a Telltale game, where it's being described as an interactive drama about flawed people and, you know, the story behind those people. It looked interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if what we were seeing was gameplay.
I'm not sure. Some of it looked like it was. It was a pretty game. It seems like an odd art. It looks good, but it seems like an odd art style for a video game.
Well, and they showed the behind the scenes where it was, you could see that they physically had people. I don't know if they were just modeling or actually acting out the scenes, and then somebody basically painting over them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's unique.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how that game progresses.
Yeah, definitely. It's a smaller game. Looks like something that would be perfect for Game Pass, and I mean, I'll sit down and check it out. After that, we had Ninja Theory, and Ninja Theory baffled me a little bit. I mean, I don't know if that's Microsoft's call or if that's Ninja Theory themselves. I would assume it's probably a combination of both. But we didn't really see anything new.
No, that was definitely a prediction. I think we both got wrong.
Yep.
I mean, I really thought we were going to see gameplay after what we've previously seen. Also, considering the fact they announced a new project last year on top of this.
Yeah, I really expected to see something in addition to,
Yeah.
if not just at least more of
It
Hellblade
leads me
2.
to think this game might not be as far in development as we thought, or maybe its focus shifted a little bit. They saw it, maybe they're making it bigger. I don't know.
I could see that because the original one, like if you just pushed through it, could be beaten in about 6 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it was a high-end AA game.
Yeah. One cool thing that came from, them looking at the game again was it is being made in Unreal Engine 5. So that also kind of leads me to believe that maybe it's not as far along as we might have thought.
And it'll be in Iceland, which should be beautiful.
Oh, yes, yeah. And they do make pretty games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and for the next studio, which I've already mentioned in the past is one of my favorites, I was very happy with what we saw, but for a brief second, I thought I was going to be ecstatic.
Yeah, he fangirl screamed when he saw Jack Black.
I wouldn't call it a scream. It was like a squeal.
Yeah, well, I had that moment, though, where I had to go, John, he's in a lot of Double Fine games.
Yeah, for a brief second, I thought maybe we were actually surprisingly, hopefully, and then we didn't, that we were going to get Brutal Legend 2.
If you follow our Twitter, you may have figured out that we're fans, because when they kind of made a weird tweet earlier, I think it said, oh, and then I tweeted back, yeah, with a Brutal Legend gif.
Yeah. It wasn't, and that's fine, actually. I mean, the thing is more Jack Black involved in their games, the better.
Yeah,
I mean, he's great, they're great. I mean, that's like a match made in heaven.
I wonder if he's doing, like, how much of the soundtrack he's involved in. I'm definitely excited he's involved.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that should add to the fun to the game for sure.
Oh, sure. But let's actually talk about the game, because this was a game that, I mean, the first Psychonauts is great. I mean, but it's a relic of its time. It's old now. It's been around for a long time. And, I mean, games like that, especially from that era, don't always age well. But because of the art style of the original, it's held up a little better than most. But then we have Psychonauts 2, and I'm telling you, I was ready for it, but then I wasn't, because it just blew me away. I think it was a lot more colorful than I expected it to be. The sound was great. The worlds looked vibrant. Looks like there might be some color or music mechanics involved in the gameplay.
I couldn't quite tell, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but it was very psychedelic.
Yeah, it was very pretty. It looked fun, inviting, and weird at the same time.
Yeah, I think, honestly, after, and again, I've already admitted I'm a fan, so I might be a little bit biased, but, next to Obsidian, I think Double Fine might be one of the most necessary studio purchases that Microsoft's made.
Yes.
Because you're not going to get the same game all the time. And whatever you're going to get, it's going to be different from anything else they've ever been working on.
Microsoft, Xbox Studios has a lot of shooter franchises.
Yes.
I don't know that they've ever done a shooter.
Well, let's not give them the idea.
Okay. Well, if they did, though, it might be really interesting.
Yeah, as an elephant comes flying out of the end of a blunderbuss or something.
But, yeah, that game, it was on my list. I was planning on playing it, but after watching that, I'm excited about it. Before it was just, that's going to be cool. Now I'm like, okay, I want to give this a shot because this looks great. It looks fun.
I was a little surprised not to see a release date for it, because we've known about it for quite a while.
Yeah.
But then again, you get a little bit of money. They may be really putting some refinement into it. After that, we got a surprise announcement and it's not a huge deal, but it kind of is if you're a longtime Xbox fan. Bungie's not necessarily coming home, but, playing nice with mom and dad.
Yeah.
In that Destiny's going to be coming to Game Pass. And not just Destiny, they're also bringing all the expansions.
Destiny 2.
Oh, Destiny 2. Sorry. It's all kind of a big umbrella for me.
I'm sure everyone knew what you meant, but just in case.
Just to be specific. But it's being optimized for the Xbox Series X.
Yep.
So I think, Destiny's already a pretty game. Given any kind of optimization to make it look pretty, to make it, the sound quality better, is only a win-win. So it's a neat announcement, if nothing else.
Especially, I wasn't really surprised by any of that, but when they included that all the expansions are included, that was a big deal.
Yep, yeah, and I actually kind of look forward to jumping into it and checking it out.
Yeah.
And the next trailer we saw was I think it's Game World was the studio.
It was on the door, I know that.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to think of the trailer as we were watching it. Patrick, I think you said that it reminded you of Chernobyl.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like there was some signs around there that it was Russia.
Yeah, and that's they're bringing Stalker 2 to Game Pass, and I didn't play the first one, did you?
No, and for all I know, that was in Russia, so we sound like fools, but we are not familiar with that one.
Yeah.
But I do know that it has a dedicated fan base. It's not a really popular game, but the fans they have are huge fans.
Well, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and segue into another game that's kind of in the same boat with us, whereas we're not overly familiar with it, or at least I'm not, but it also still has a huge fan base. And I kind of think that might be what Microsoft was shooting for with this conference, with trying to be like, look, you're not going to be excited about everything, but we're going to do our best to bring you something to be excited about.
Yeah.
And that's Phantasy Star Online. We've known about it. They've been giving away perks on Game Pass as it is, but I don't know. I mean, did it do anything for you, Patrick?
Not really. I mean, like you said, similar, you know, it's got a huge fan base. I know I see people on Twitter talking about it all the time. I'm not real familiar with it. The trailer didn't do anything for me, but for those who it did, awesome.
Yep, and it looked pretty.
Yeah.
And we might as well continue with the trend here of games that I'm not overly familiar with. And I'm sorry if you're listening and you're a big fan, but bear with us because we'll probably be trying all of these. I would at least think to some extent. But the studio that I love the name of, at least, Fat Shark, is bringing Warhammer Darktide in 2021. Did you play Vermintide, Patrick?
No, I think there are times where you, me, and a few other people tried to get together and we just never made it happen. It looks fun.
Yeah, I think that the co-op elements alone are at least worth giving it a look. I'd like to see this one be a little bit more colorful than the last one was, but I don't know. I mean, that might not be typical of the series.
Yeah, you might be saying blasphemous things.
Yeah, if I
don't know.
am, sorry, just ignore me. It doesn't matter. You can tell me to shut up. I, may or may not listen, at least in regards to what you want me to shut up.
We just want you
about.
to interact with us on Twitter.
Yep. So moving on from that, then we got Enhance, who's bringing Tetris Effect Connected. I gotta admit, when I saw this, I love Tetris. I think Tetris is a great time waster. Like, it's just one of those things where I can't turn off my brain, but at the same time, it's still the same kind of relaxing that you get from something where you turn your brain off and enjoy. I don't know that I was overly thrilled by the idea until we realized that it was going to be on Game Pass.
Yeah, when they announced that later on,
And Connected implies that it's going to be online, so that I actually do kind of look forward to.
Yeah, it sounded like maybe it's like the previous version, which is on PlayStation, and maybe just PlayStation.
Yeah, it was an exclusive. I think it was VR exclusive.
But it has extra content, so it'll be interesting to see what that is. But it's Tetris on Game Pass.
Yeah, how can you hate Tetris?
Yeah,
I'm sure there's somebody.
Probably because they're bad at it.
We also, after that, we had from the creators of SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Heist, which if you haven't played those games, they're definitely a unique studio, and all of their games are kind of slightly connected to each other, which are pretty neat. But this looked like a big leap for them in a game called The Gunk.
Yeah, it looked 3D.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a 3D, maybe puzzle platformer or Metroidvania.
It was
maybe
a bit hard to tell, but I know it looked pretty and it looked fun.
Yeah, it was another one that I walked away from the show going, okay, that's definitely one that's on my radar.
Yeah, it may have been my biggest surprise of the show, at least as far as things that I didn't know. It caught me off guard.
It kind of gave me a little bit of Mario Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion vibes, just because of probably the gun that's used to suck up the gunk.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be bad if they had Nintendo-esque games, I'll say that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, this one will probably make its way to other consoles in the long run. I think it was just a limited exclusive, but it looked neat. It was probably one of the better surprises.
Yeah, it looked cool.
Show.
I'm not sure if those were robots or aliens, but
they were something.
Yeah, it looked fun.
Yep. After that, we had Bloober Team, who's bringing the Medium to Xbox Series X. Is that going to be an Xbox One? Yeah, I guess that's an Xbox One game too, right?
I think I haven't heard about anything about it on Xbox One. I've only heard Series X.
Okay, well then that might be the
case. Could be wrong, but I've only heard Series X.
It gives me strong vibes of Silent Hill.
Yeah.
The only difference is with Silent Hill, you would just fall into these trappings of kind of crazy looking moments. Whereas this, almost seems like there's a mechanic where you can just kind of jump to either side
Between
of the
two
realm.
worlds.
Yeah. Maybe like the upside down from Stranger Things a little bit. It looks good.
Yeah.
It looks creepy.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest horror game fan, but it looks good. It definitely has me intrigued. I know it has the Xbox fan base intrigued. I was hoping that they would show this one a second time because they did show it the previous event, but it got such a reaction. I guess it got to be here too.
Probably just to expand it out a little bit more. It is an interesting looking game for sure.
They seem to have a pretty good relationship with Xbox too, and a lot of times fans talk about it as an acquisition prospect, and I can see it. They don't really have a horror game studio. They have a good relationship. They also made the what was the movie one?
Oh, the Blair Witch game.
Blair Witch Project. I was
Yes.
blanking on it, and that did well. People seemed to like it. That was Game Pass day one.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I bet there's at least been a conversation.
And this game looks really polished compared to Blair Witch.
Yeah.
Not that Blair Witch didn't look polished, but it didn't look quite this
Yeah,
pretty.
they've had smaller games that have done well. It almost feels like this is the game they were building towards.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Then we saw Remedy's surprise announcement, and I think it had been rumored pretty heavy, but I think this was confirmation of it. Remedy is doing the campaign, not the multiplayer, but the campaign for Crossfire X.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that rumor at all, but I'll take your word for it.
Yep.
Yeah, it for me at least, it came out of nowhere. The gameplay seemed fine. There was nothing that really whelmed me, and it really, at least what we saw, it didn't look very Remedy-esque to me.
I think that was kind of my thing. It looked like a just plain shooter, and I don't mean that to be derogatory. Remedy is known for bringing weird mechanics or unique outlooks.
They
for
definitely
shooters to the
have their
table.
style where a lot of times you can see a game and be like, that looks like a Remedy game just by watching the trailer.
Yeah,
I don't feel like I got that here. That doesn't mean maybe it just wasn't the best trailer, and we'll see that later on, because it seems odd to me that they would do a game like this without putting their stamp on it.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, now that I think about it, there was that rumor months and months ago about them bringing Control to Game Pass. I wonder if that's where this all started.
I'm not sure.
Maybe they were talking and somebody got like whispers and, Purple Monkey Dishwasher, it came out. Well, Control's going to be on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Never know. Then we got a quick announcement saying that Forza Horizon 4, Sea of Thieves, and Gears 5 are all getting, sorry, it's been a long day, are getting a upgrade for Xbox Series X. So I'm sure I don't know if that'd be like a texture pack, if it would be like a DLC, or if they're literally just, remastering everything. But it'll be neat. I would assume that it's at least going to be whatever the PC
Yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense for Sea of Thieves, because that audience is actually growing right now.
I still get tempted to go back into it, and I do every few months just because it's a pretty game. Yeah. It's fun. It's another one that visually, it's kind of, I guess, maybe why I'm so excited to see what they do with Everwild.
I mean, I wasn't a huge fan, but visually and mechanically, that game is sound.
Yep. And then finally, we get to the announcements of announcements. If you are listening to our show for the same reason that we are hosting this show, Playground's announcement for Fable.
Yes.
Just Fable.
Yep.
No subtitle. No sequential number.
Mm-mm.
What do you think?
I think reboot.
You think full reboot? Soft reboot?
Soft reboot, because we did see Castle Fairfax.
Okay. So, I mean, we see the trailer. We start off. There's a fairy. There's a narrator, which, yay and good. And essentially, we're led through a forest. From the forest, we see the fairy flying around
with pretty colors.
We see the frog eats the fairy, so we get our joke in there.
Yep.
And then up over the horizon, we get...
Thank God for a joke.
we get Bowerstone. Or at least what we perceive to be Bowerstone.
Yeah, it looks like it. No industry around. to be seen?
They didn't seem to have any industrial revolution going on. It was kind of hard to gauge what time frame it might be.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is, I mean, I would assume it's a sequel.
I would be surprised if it took place after 3.
Okay. Well, so then it would be a sequel.
It seems like it's after Fable 1, unless it's just a full reboot. In betweenquel? A betweenquel?
Betweenquel. So
yes.
You're saying before Fable 3?
Well, there's 500 years between 1 and 2.
So you're saying before Fable 2?
Yes.
So it would be a sequel to Fable of the Lost Chapters, but a prequel to Fable 2.
A betweenquel. Betweenquel.
So, okay. Betweenquel. Let's make sure that we hashtag that when you post the video later.
They're just gonna block us. Let's be honest.
Probably. Yeah. Or it's gonna become the new thing or whatever, but probably not. Let's get okay. We've digressed way too far. Let's get back to the point. Again, sorry, it's been a long day, and we're super excited about this announcement. The only thing that I will say negative that stuck out to me was the art seemed a little realistic in comparison to what we've known from Fable.
It did.
I've always been a fan of the big hands, the big feet, the exaggerated features.
But we didn't see any people.
That is true. But the fairy just seemed a little bit more realistic. Funny, the fairy seemed realistic. Yeah. You know what I mean, though.
I know what you mean.
Character model seemed more human-esque.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. This was a trailer. We don't know how much it influences the art, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but it checked a lot of the right boxes for me.
It definitely doesn't seem like they're at least going for photorealism.
Yes,
which would be horrible.
Well, and your biggest fear was that it was going to be dark, gritty Fable.
Yeah. Gray, serious, no humor.
You've played The Witcher, now play Fable.
The Witcher 4 Fable.
Exactly.
Which a lot of people wanted, and there's nothing wrong with that game, but...
Oh, yeah, no, The Witcher's great. I mean, like, it'd be blasphemous to say, I mean, anything else, unless that's just really not your thing. But it's not what we want from Fable.
No, I mean, it would... If you took away the humor, you took away the color. I mean, maybe some elements would remain, but you'd really lose what it is.
Yeah, and the narration actually pointed it out that, it asks how your story's going to end. Is that what the okay, yeah.
Your story has yet to be written.
Okay, so obviously they're on the right path.
Yeah, that sounds like you have decisions.
Yeah, I hope that it leans more into the fairy tale-esque nature of things and less of the fantasy.
Yeah.
But we can't tell anything off of this quick teaser.
No, I was hoping they would show more, considering it was the worst kept secret in all of gaming.
Oh, absolutely.
Like at least I was hoping for an in-engine tech show off.
Sure, yeah, but hopefully that comes later, and hopefully it comes sooner than later. Really. But I mean, the fact that we finally have it announced, we know it's coming. Unless they pull the rug out from under us, like they did with Legends.
Yeah,
I think we're good to go here.
Yeah.
So that gives us a little bit of extension on our show. Ting.
Yep. New content to talk about.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm hopeful, and I'm glad that it finally came about.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see anything that would make me too upset.
We'll save our heavy speculation for another show down the line. So you ready to wrap this up?
Yep.
All right.
We'd like to give a thanks to those who helped us contribute to the show. Zero XP logo was designed by Jameson Johns. You can find him at behance.net/Jameson Johns. Music by Odd Reference. You can find him at facebook.com/odd.reference. Be sure to talk to us on Twitter at 0xp podcast, or you can feel free to email us at 0xppodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us for this bonus episode of the 0xp podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, rate, or review on your podcast service of choice. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And be sure to leave a comment. We read them all, and I've replied to every one of them so far.
And as always, until next time, stay safe out there. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.